Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Above Board podcast. Today's guest is Lisa Begley, the creator of the Drawer Method and known by many as the messiness mentor. Now, what I love about Lisa's story is that it's not built around this fallacy of perfection. It's real life. You know, she's walked through seasons of transition, uncertainty, rebuilding, and trying to find out what the next chapter in life looks like. And now she helps people navigate what she calls the messy middle. And it's those in-between seasons where life just doesn't feel clear yet, but you know, like growth is still happening. And so through her coaching, her podcast, and her book, The Sock Drawer Philosophy, Lisa shares honest conversations about resilience, purpose, clarity, and those small daily decisions that we can make to slowly change the direction of our life. I think a lot of people are going to really relate to this conversation, Lisa, because we don't have it all figured out. And yet, we have to just kind of keep moving forward anyway. And there's something authentic about that. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. I'm so glad to be here. It's so great.
It's my fault that it took so long for this to happen. Between tax season and everything else, we've been trying to plan this for months.
Yeah, I know. We've pushed it back a few times, but we're both just trying to do what we do, and I understand it. So I'm just glad to be here, and we finally made it, and exciting. Like I remember when we first connected, it was such a easy conversation. Like we just could probably sit on even before we hit record and chat for a long time because it's true what you say, like you just keep moving forward. We don't really have an option. Either it's going to pass us by and we're never going to experience anything, or you have to jump in and go with it, whatever it is. And a lot of times it is the messy middle, what I have found in my life. And I know I'm just an everyday person. Like that's the difference. I'm not trying to be somebody or change anybody or change anything. I just want the average everyday person to know we're with you. We hear you. We know this is happening,
Lisa,
Goofy?
No, that's great. I actually have a question about that. Did you come to find that? Like, did you grow into that, or have you always had that philosophy?
No. Oh gosh, no. I did grow into it, John.
Okay.
Thank you for that question because, this is why it's so important to me to stay, the average everyday person, because
Yeah.
in recent, in the last year, I think we talked about this before, in recent, I was forced retirement, kind of. I mean, I chose to retire. I could have gone and found another job, like my 30th career change, and I just decided I'm not doing it. And so I went ahead and stayed in retirement mode. But for me, retirement mode, and like many, many other people, again, I'm no different than anybody else, it has to involve something. And whether it is golfing, pickleball, mahjong, this, that, or whether it's like, I've got to work, I've got to do something that is productive for me. So that's kind of what led me into this. And it started with small steps, like okay, first I'm going to go ahead and write my book. So I became an author. And then you know what? I'm going to be an Amazon affiliate. Let's do that. And this has not changed. This is part of me, who I am. I'll try anything. So I'm going to be an Amazon affiliate. Well, then I got, I was like, I don't know if I love that. Well, okay, let's be a guest on a podcast and promote my book. Okay, we'll do that. Let's try YouTube. I feel like it's more legit. Let's try that. And then I jump into a YouTube channel and I have no idea what I'm doing. And as I'm trying to navigate this, I'm picking and choosing what I learned, because you have to, if you don't know it, you got to go figure out how to learn it, right? You got to find ways. And there's people out here who are great YouTube coaches, but there's people out there who are like, I just want to grab $3,000 from this person,
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and I made those mistakes, and I put money where I shouldn't have, and it's been a learning curve. And I want to help people who are in that mode, who want to do something with their life. Maybe they're not even sure what yet, and they want to get out there and do something, but they're not sure how to find what that is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to help, because I've made those mistakes, and hopefully I can help you avoid some of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mistakes are good though, right? Because failures, those are how we learn. I know what to not to do or what to do. So I think that's how it's all evolved. And then, I think we said this before, like I would have never guessed me having a podcast,
Yeah.
but here I am. And then I so thankfully were a guest on my podcast, and it just made perfect sense and evolved from there. And now here I am with you with a book and a podcast and just
It's
enjoying life
amazing.
and helping other people. So
That's
I don't
amazing.
know. It's a long
That's
story.
well, no, it's great. I have more questions to pick apart to pull at that a little bit actually. But I think I used the word authenticity in the intro, and I knew, I knew that it would be a very authentic conversation between you and I.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of this is like, as you said, I mean, you're helping people, but you're authentically who you are. You don't have anything, there's nothing to necessarily sell or convince somebody of something. You're who you are.
Mm.
And sometimes people, like, I always feel like that about my own self too. I think that's why we connected. Like when we first had a conversation, it's like our energies were like, we're on the same frequency, we're on the same decibel here, and we're connecting
Yes.
and having a good conversation. And I think that's a very good thing, because sometimes maybe you don't. Maybe that's okay too. Like maybe that someone doesn't connect with you at your energy level or what you're bringing to the table, and that's fine. Like
Yeah.
that's why I
Yeah.
asked. Like, did you kind of grow into that? Because for me, I did. I had to. I still am, by the
Yeah.
way. Like it's still that people pleaser nature in me to have everybody like what you do and what you say and all that stuff. It's hard to
Yeah.
kind of put that aside. But
Yeah.
okay, so I've got a lot of questions for you, and I want to go a little bit more on the backstory, because my questions kind of lead into what the sock drawer method means. But
Okay.
I think a good place to start would be like, what was the moment in your life, or like what occurred that helped you like create that? Oh, okay, that like this is like was it an aha moment? Did you kind of slowly evolve to the sock drawer method?
No, it's so quite honestly, when it came time that I wanted to write a book, I needed to find something around, I needed help finding something around. I didn't want it to be so, I don't know, matter of fact. I think everybody
Mm,
writes like that. I needed it to have a fun, sort of metaphorical piece to it,
okay.
AKA the sock drawer, right? And when you think about your sock drawer, excuse me, you pull open that drawer and it's different for everybody. I mean, some people have these like bamboo dividers. They're rolled.
Not
They're
me.
color coordinated. Me either. They're color coordinated. They're organized, but it speaks to how you operate, right?
Mhm.
Somebody who's got that going on, probably every drawer has that divider and organization. And then and I've tried it. I prefer it. I just can't do it. It's not me, right? But you pull my sock drawer open and it is a hot mess, literally. And now I don't have the missing pieces, so I have that sort of OCD about me where if I have one missing sock, it'll go in the trash. I don't even mess with it. But people have missing, like they keep it, hoping it shows up from the dryer or hoping it. And when you think about it metaphorically as part of life, we all have that. We have missing
Mhm.
pieces, we have disorganization, we have chaos, we have the ones that we've kept socks for years, like, oh, I got these 6 Christmases ago and I just love them and they represent that memory. So, everything in there, whether they're color, maybe they're for weddings or for business or for work, maybe they're just your cozy socks that you put on when you come home from work, maybe they're just your tennis shoe socks, your athletic socks. Everything has a different representative. So it, it just, I loved the sock drawer philosophy
Sure.
as a metaphor.
It's so
That's it.
funny.
And
I
and
think
and
I've
I
had
just
signs. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying, and I just took that and put pieces together.
I think I've had signs leading up to this conversation that I wasn't aware of until just now. One was a client told me that he has socks older than me. That was the first, which I think was a compliment. I think that's a compliment. And then the second was over the weekend. I actually, this is like random coincidence, and like no one cares about this story, but I think it's funny, so I'm going to say it. I took all my socks out and I threw all the ones that were mismatched away. And my wife got me like a bunch of socks and like a bunch of pairs of socks. And I wanted all uniform, the same ones. So I just wear the same socks every day and they never get mixed up because they're all the same. So anyway, that was my fun little random story that this weekend I actually did that, and I've never done that, or like it's been years
Yeah.
since I've done that. So it's random that we're talking
So
about the sock drawer method.
yeah, so let's talk about that. So what does that say about where you are in life, right? You're ready for a little bit of organization. Plus it talks about, it speaks to ease of simplicity, meaning if one gets lost or whatever, they're all the same. It doesn't matter. We can just
Yeah.
stay uniform. So I don't know. I think that speaks to something that's going on in the growth that you're experiencing in life and how you want your life to be.
It's a very small element of control, but it's still control to be able to be like, I am clean sweeping this. These are all gone. New socks are in order. And I guess you're right. I mean, you refer to this thing called the messy middle,
Yeah.
which I feel like I'm kind of in the eye of the storm of that right now. I mean, I think most people listening to this
Oh,
probably feel like, life is messy. I mean, at my phase of life, I've got young kids, I'm growing a business, trying to spend time with family, but invest my time back in the company. It's like, that's
yeah.
the lines get blurred real fast. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm meeting with you right now in recording this in my home office. And it's like, there's blurred lines all over the place. It's like my mind's always on work. When I'm working, I'm thinking about the kids. When I'm with the kids, I'm thinking about work. It's like, it's messy. And
It's true.
so maybe that is a really good example of just like this one area that you're right. It's probably symptomatic of life and going, what's something I can
Yeah.
control? I'm not going to sit here and organize socks every time laundry day comes. I'm not doing it anymore. It is a
Yeah.
waste of my time. I
Yeah.
want all the same socks and I don't want to have to do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. And you're just in that season of life where it wouldn't matter if you went to an office every day, the lines would still be blurred, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's a season of life that so many people go through.
Yeah.
And the messy middle, when I think about it, I think about somebody going through something
Yeah.
a little bit more traumatic, because yes, life is messy. I mean, it's such a
Yeah.
trendy thing to say. We say it all the time. Life
Right.
is messy. It's truth. And it's a constant, strive to have control, keep a little control of it, being able to keep organized, feel like we're not losing it at any given
Sure.
moment. But when I think about the messy middle, and I think because I've been through so many traumatic experiences myself, that I know, again, just the average Joe, so many people have as well. And there's
Hmm.
so many stories out there and so many things that maybe, you know, even if you just had a listening ear,
Hmm.
that would help.
Yeah.
There's so many of us that don't even have anybody to sit and listen to, that either don't want to fix it, they want to fix it, they want to help, they want to give you advice, they want to do, and sometimes we don't need that.
Right.
Sometimes we just need someone to hear us.
Yeah.
And depending on what it is, right? Whatever it is you're going through. Or maybe you need, therapy. Maybe it's a terrible divorce. Maybe something's going on with your kids. Maybe you have teenagers. I mean, that's a messy middle in and of itself.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, so if it's relationship, maybe it's the job. Maybe you're just
Sure.
miserable and you get up every day. Whatever it is, that's a messy middle because it's not going to last forever.
Mm.
But what's going to make it not last forever? You. You have to do something about it.
Yeah.
But a lot of us feel stuck, whether it's finances, like I can't leave my job, we need the finances, we need this. It's a risk. Some of the things, getting out of the messy middle can be a risk to so
Yeah.
many, you know?
Gosh, Lisa, it's funny. So we had a couple months ago, I had a good friend of mine. Her name's Pia, and she was on the podcast, and she talked about this thing called the sticky juncture, which is just
Yeah.
like another fun way to kind of describe what you're describing, where it's like, that there's like some, it's not going to last forever, and maybe some changes need to happen, but it's messy, it's sticky, you feel stuck or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and you gave really good examples. I think in my situation, it's Rich on the podcast always talks to me about like relate but do not compare. And so like as I'm thinking of this, I'm like, okay, it's not like those circumstances that you described aren't necessarily what I'm dealing with. It just sometimes things feel unfinished and messy to me. Like that's how it feels to me sometimes. Like I look at my to-do list, my
Yeah.
to-do list never ends. It keeps growing. I check things
Yeah.
off at a rate that doesn't seem to be fast enough before more things get added. That feels messy. Like for the type of
Yeah.
person who just like loves a checklist and loves things to be done every day and wants
Yes.
to apply myself with my kids and be fully present, but I can't
Yeah.
because I'm thinking about this conversation I have to have tomorrow or this thing. It's just that part feels a little messy. And so,
Yeah.
what do you, I guess, what do you think most people maybe misunderstand about this season of life, this messy middle that you refer to or that you call it?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, what do you think people misunderstand or maybe should consider as a perspective when they're in the midst of it?
Mm, it's a great question. That is so difficult. That
Glad I could
is.
ask a hard question.
I'm glad you could because let's walk through it, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're in it, like
Hmm.
I'll give an example. When I was going through a second divorce, it was horrific. And we we had restraining orders, we couldn't but yet we couldn't stay away from each other, like, and there was as many people said to me, "You've gotta stop. You've just
Mm,
got, everything you've gotta walk away. You've gotta put it behind you. You've got." I couldn't make that decision in that moment to save my life, and neither could he, which was rough, right? And so it just had to play out. However, they were right, and this is the most difficult thing to do in the middle of whatever that is. Even if it's a season of life that you feel so out of control and sort of chaos and messiness and all of that, if you don't take the first step, and what is it? And people would ask me years ago, how do you go from one job to another? How do you transition out of these things? And that's when, and this wasn't that long ago, I put together something called the drawer method that I like to use because you can use it for everyday life or you can use it for big things. And the very first step, and we don't have to get into it, but the very first step is what will pull you out of this hole or this season, and that's deciding to do whatever it is, move forward, deciding you have to make the decision consciously
hmm.
and then figure out from that moment on what it is you're looking to accomplish or what it is you're looking to move on from. Sometimes you can't move on from that season of life. It
Yeah.
is what it is. But if it's a specific situation, it's helpful to just be able to look yourself in the mirror, however it is for you, right? Again, different for everybody. I'm not going to sit here and say, if you do these 5 things or whatever, it's going to work out for you because it's got to be different for everybody. But the key is to decide to do it,
Hmm.
remove yourself from the situation, go apply for other jobs, to make that decision to walk away from that not so great relationship, decide to change the way you parent,
Hmm.
decide to change the whatever it is. I mean, we could make, the list goes on, right?
Sure.
Because it applies differently for anybody and everybody.
Yeah, it
But
feels
I
like a good, like almost like line in the sand moment where it's like, okay, I'm going to decide this, and yeah, you're probably going to have a lot of internal dialogue about that, or talking with friends
Yeah.
and go back and forth. But at least maybe I don't know about you, but like for me, it's like when I state something out loud, that always seems to resonate much better. Like internally, this is a silly, but like internally when I'm like, yeah, I'm going to start working out again, like I think about it and I think
Yeah.
about it and I'm like, I'm going to start working out again. Then I tell my wife like, no, I'm going to start working out again. And now I'm like, I kind of, now I said that out loud. It feels different. I'm like, I have to actually do what I said I was going to do. And
Yep.
so is there some element to that too, when you decide to be able to kind of communicate that or make that known to help force you and not force you into the decision, but to kind of put the confidence behind it that like, okay, I've decided it, I've said it, now I'm going to apply it. Or did I
That is
just
a
give away,
hundred.
did I give
No,
away
that
more of the drawer method?
that is to say it out loud is that's something I'll say to people. Take here's your tiny step, right? I call
Mm-hmm.
it a tiny dare. Here's your tiny dare is to
Oh, tiny
decide
dare.
and then say it out loud. You're exactly right. I'm not staying here anymore. That's my decision. I've said it. You don't even need a plan yet. It's just to say, I've decided I am no longer a victim to this circumstance.
Yeah.
And I'm going to change that today.
Right.
And I like what you said about get in front of the mirror and say it. Say it to yourself first. Then tell other people because those people closest to you can help hold you accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, if they know you, whether it's a spouse or a partner, or friend or family member, whoever it is you have the most interaction or trust with that they'll say to you, you said this to yourself and to now what does that look like? Maybe they'll
Mm-hmm.
even talk through it with you or, book on and I'll
Yeah.
sit and listen to you all day long.
Lisa, this is
Um,
great because I also think it applies to money psychology. I mean, like I obviously what I do for a living and helping people, with their money and a lot of what you hear kind of the narratives that people make up is like, "Oh, I'll save more when this'll when this happens, then I will, pay off my debt or whatever." And then what the problem is like they've just never fully committed. Like they've never fully decided like I'm going to take agency over my financial life. and and part of it too is I think I like this what we're talking about because I think this is a good metaphor for life. Like when you think about like money and retirement and stuff, it's like that stuff's in some instances, depending on how old you are, it's like so far away that
yep.
it's like hard to put yourself in those shoes to sacrifice today for tomorrow. I think a lot of people don't decide anything with their money for a lot of years until they maybe come to work with a financial person and say like, okay, I've made the decision. I need to get better at this. I need to, and I need help. And like, I need somebody to coach me through it. So I guess a lot of times I end up getting the opportunity to meet with somebody once they've made that pivotal decision, which is it's a blessing. It's pretty cool, but
Yeah.
not to make it about money or what I do, but I
No,
think, it,
it's a
it
good,
does my,
such a good point.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah. No, John, I think that is spot on, especially about money. We were ones who were like, we're 30. Who cares? We're not thinking about it. We got 401k. It'll be there. We got retirement. We got a pension. It's just going to be there. I don't have to do anything with it.
Yeah.
No way. Decide to do something with it. You've got to. I so agree with you. And I remember when we talked before, were so great at even people who haven't decided to, but they've come to you to be able to talk through that with them,
Mm.
right? Almost like the psychology of it all.
Yeah.
And being able to get to
Thanks.
know your client first before deciding kind of what path maybe you want to take them on. I think that learning about them it's so important. And I don't think people think about that when they think about what am I going to do with my money, that they're going to have somebody like CandorPath and somebody like you, John, who would sit and walk through that journey with them emotionally and mentally and from a psychological standpoint, like what's your idea of money and how to do that. So I remember we talked about that and I think that that's so helpful.
I appreciate you saying that because I mean, for me, it's like what we were talking about at the beginning of this. Like that's how I apply myself in an authentic way, and I
Yeah.
enjoy the work that I do. But sometimes it doesn't resonate with people. Like
Yeah.
I'll meet with someone, and I'm like, okay, let's talk. Like I kind of want to understand, like what happened. Like let's go back a little bit further to understand, like what happened that kind of led you to some of this decision making. And sometimes people will come in and they're just like, I want to talk about dollars and cents. I have this number. I want it to be this number. How long is it going to take to get there? I'm like, maybe
Exactly.
I'm not your person because
Yeah.
I think anybody can do that. And maybe I'm just not your person. And that's okay. That's okay. Because folks I do get to serve where I have those conversations that you shared, Lisa, like
Yeah.
it's so, I mean, we're we're just operating on the same wavelength, and we get it. And we're very, it's a very positive and encouraging conversation. Which
Yep.
maybe I didn't actually, this was not on purpose, but this is a really good segue into R, maybe, of the drawer method. So we have D,
Oh.
which is decide to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what is R?
Remove the obstacle.
Got
Remove
it.
it.
Got it.
I mean, whatever is keeping you from moving forward, you've got to figure it out. Name the one thing. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I've got this and I've got this and I've got this. No, what's the one thing, right? And just name it and then be aware of it. That's the
Yeah.
first move. Just be aware of it.
Yeah.
Ah, this is what's holding me back. Maybe it's the people around you. Maybe it's just as simple as fear. Maybe it's an imposter syndrome feeling. Maybe it's finances, right? I don't
Yeah.
have the money. Okay, well, great. You've recognized that. Now, what's our next step? How are we going to get the money, right?
I
So,
think for a lot of people, it is the people that are around them, by the way. So like I had written down, it was slightly different and maybe incorrect because yours was remove the obstacle. I had removed the negative, which is saying, I guess, the same
same.
thing, but it's like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
idea that, I talk about this all the time on the podcast. And it's kind of like old news these days, but a lot of people discuss the concept that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the majority of your time with. And
So true.
I feel like some of the hardest decisions are to look at that, to audit that list and go, maybe this isn't the most productive person for me. Not that I'm trying to cut them out of my life, but maybe they're just not one of the top 5 people I spend the most of my time with, because
Yep.
they're, it's not encouraging, or it's a negative relationship, or it's not helpful.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that
Nope.
seems like a really important one. Once you decide, is then to remove the obstacles that are in your way.
Yeah, and they most often are negative people or a negative vibe or a negative environment. It could be just as simple as your environment. Well, your environment usually, like you said,
Hmm.
has people surrounding you that's keeping you in that environment. And
Hmm.
it is a hard thing, right? Because these are maybe sometimes your closest people. Sometimes it's your spouse or your partner in life. Sometimes it's maybe it's just the kids, or maybe it's your mom and dad, or your aunt and uncle, or it could be family. And who's going to get rid of you can't do that. So you got to figure out a way around that. And sometimes it's your best friend who's just keeping you in one space or whatever,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
maybe it's
That's
just work people. You go to work every day and you have all of this in your head and you're super excited, but the people around you at work are like, yeah, at it again. Here's what we do. Sitting in my cubicle,
right.
typing away, and they're just like complaining about the people at work, or complaining about their boss, or complain. You know, and that's
I
what you're absorbing every day, all day. Yikes.
it's so true. I always feel like, whether it's work, whether it's, I think I shared with you, like I'm coaching my kids, and I coach my kids in t-ball, softball, and basketball. And anyone that will listen, it's like the greatest blessing. I love it so much. It's like, it's a part-time job, first of all. I mean, the amount of
Yeah.
hours I spend at games and practices, I mean, it is
Yeah.
legitimately a part-time job. But whether it's like coaching, or at work, or with family, or whatever, I just find that it's like, when I enter into a conversation, and I always try to set the tone for, I mean, I have bad days too, but like I try to set like the tone for like positive energy, like, and when you interface with that person that's just like pulling you down, like, yeah, but all these obstacles, oh, but
Yeah.
this isn't gonna work, man. It's like exhausting. It really
Yeah.
is. I always encourage folks, like, tell me your top 5. Like, what is, I'd still do it probably once a year. I actually thoughtfully consider it, and then I write down who are the top 5 people that I spend the majority of my time with, and then I'm
Uh,
like, are these the people I want to keep spending my time? Not that I want to like X them out of my life, just,
no.
do I want to look back in another year and go, these 5 people are the same people that I'm still spending the majority of my time with? Or maybe, are they pulling me in a negative direction, or pulling me down,
Yeah.
So anyway, well, okay, so let's keep going,
That's
because
so
I want to
true. Okay.
explain the drawer method. So we have decide, remove the obstacle.
Hmm.
Okay.
And then apply what you know. You
Yeah.
already know so much. I don't care how young you are or how old you are, you've
Mhm.
learned something. So, and you've been through something. So I would say, do this, write down the three hard things that you've already survived in life, whatever they are. And they could be, like, I don't know, I got through that math test. Or it could be, I finally got through that traumatic divorce. It took me 3 years, but I get it.
Mhm.
I got through it. Whatever it is, I finally left my job. Or I don't know, I lost a loved one and I was able to get through that. Everybody has three hard things that they've gotten themselves through. So list that out and then kind of review what you've already learned, what you already know,
Mm.
and start to apply that.
That's great.
Because you're better than you think. If I had a
Yeah.
piece of advice for anybody, to always tell you're better than you think you are. You
Yeah.
are.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then what's cool about that is like that those three things, as you said, decide, remove the obstacle, and apply yourself. I mean, you could almost end there. I mean, really, you could,
Yeah.
because those three things are so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
And my wife's family's originally from Long Island, so they would say draw. So technically,
Draw
it probably would end,
the
but
sock
but
draw.
that's, yeah, the sock draw. But
I love it.
she worked hard to learn how to say drawer correctly. Is That's what she says. But so there's three more. So then what are
Yeah.
the final three?
Yeah. So we talked about this a little bit before, right? I love wing it, but it also sounds a little, I don't know, just a little free. I needed something a little, I think you have to, and I think this is more fun anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to say wobble
Mm-hmm.
forward because you can wing it and throw caution to the wind and just do anything. But so now you've decided, you've removed an obstacle. You're thinking, okay, I've been through hard things. Here's what I learned. I know this. Now just move forward. Take that one small wobbly step forward. It doesn't have to be perfect. Send the email, make the phone call, do the thing, whatever it is, right? It doesn't, it, wobbly counts. It doesn't have to be perfect. Imperfect is better.
Yeah, I like the book. In this instance, it makes me think of Atomic Habits by James Clear, which I'm sure you've read that book. But
Oh, I have it.
yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
so good, and like he uses this
Yeah.
analogy in there where he talks about, I forget how he phrases it, but like you could just say to yourself, like, I am the type of person that goes to the gym, and then you just go to the gym for 15. You don't even do anything. Like it was
Yeah.
like at first, like you don't even work out. You just go to the gym and that's it for 15
Yeah.
minutes. And you might think to yourself after a few days, this is really silly. If I'm going to come here for 15 minutes, might as well do something. And then you just kind of keep slowly building on top of it. You don't have to say, I'm going to run a triathlon, or I'm going to
Yeah.
go run a marathon, or I'm going to, lose 80 pounds and do blah, blah, blah. Like you don't have to,
Yeah.
that doesn't need to be the statement. It can just be something as simple as wobble towards it, like just
Yeah.
a slow, progressive build towards the thing that you're ready to now apply yourself towards. See, I like that because I feel like that to me, that's like digestible. And like I
Yeah.
think about, not to relate everything back to money, but it's like, again, you
But
talk about like, the telescope of, like all these years that you have to look into your future for financial planning. If you're 35 years old and you're like, oh man, I got like a few decades ahead of me, that feels like so much like to do, to
yeah.
think, what do I fund? Do I put it, like, you can almost just overwhelm, like, anxiety yourself into inaction. Well, don't worry about that. Like, how about we
Exactly.
just focus on like brick by brick, like piece by piece, like just save a little bit. Let's increase your 401k every year by 1%. Like let's win in the incremental. Let's wobble towards
Yes.
it. So I
Yeah.
like the change that you made. I like wobble. I think that's a good one.
I'm glad. That makes me happy because I was like, do I do a poll about this? Or yeah. And the second E is, or the second E, the E is evaluate. So
Hmm.
you've done these things, right? You did the drawer. Now evaluate it. Pause, take a look at what you've accomplished, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then adjust, maybe. Decide, like you just said, right? I like that idea. Go to the gym, you go to the gym, you go to the gym. What's the adjustment? Well, you're evaluating, I'm at the gym. I might as well get on the treadmill for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
How hard is that? I'm here anyway,
Yeah.
right? So now you've kind of taken a step back and said, look what I've accomplished, and said, well, I'm going to add on. And then
Yeah.
honestly, the last R is I call it rinse and repeat. Just
Mm-hmm.
do this over and over again. Decide, remove, apply, wobble, evaluate.
I think what's good about the R and what you just said is like, for me, I think of momentum. So I hate to relate this like to fitness. It's like fitness or money is like all I'm talking about. But like these are good
That's all right.
examples. I think a lot of us relate to that.
Yeah.
So continue on that example. So you go to the gym for 10 or 15 minutes a day. Then you're like, oh, I'm here. I might as well go on the treadmill. I'm here. I might as well pick up some weights.
Yeah.
What'll end up happening is then when you leave the gym and you're thinking to yourself like, okay, I'm kind of hungry for lunch. Well, I did that. Like momentum kind of it begets more momentum. Now it's like, well, maybe I'll have a salad instead. Like I'm not going
Yeah.
to go grab fast food because that's convenient. I already inconveniently went out of my way for 20 minutes or 15 minutes to come to the gym.
Yeah.
So no, you know what? I'm not going to pass by and go grab fast food. Like I'm going to go home and make something. I'm going to have something, healthier for myself. And like, that's the rinse and repeat thing. I feel like it just keeps, once you have that momentum, it just kind
Hmm.
of keeps formulating into something that
Yeah.
builds bigger and bigger upon itself. But it all starts with the deciding part. And
That's right.
you did a really good job, Lisa, with that acronym, because it's like that, it almost, I don't know if you would say that it's in order of importance, but in my opinion, it almost is. Like none of that happens if you don't make that pivotal decision for then all of these other things to kind of fall into place.
Yeah, John, you're exactly right. It had to be, because I like baby steps, because I feel like people get so overwhelmed
Hmm.
with trying, like sometimes, like you just said, right? You get overwhelmed into Frozen, and you're like, I don't, eh, I just talked to somebody the other day. I think there's a guest on my podcast who was talking about ADHD, and not that everybody. I've never been diagnosed. I probably have a piece of that somewhere, or I think we all do at some point,
Right.
right? Where we get frozen. There's so much to think about. We don't even know what step to take first, and
Hmm.
then we procrastinate, and then so you're exactly right. And when someone asked me, like, I looked back on this, obviously I didn't have the drawer method when I was 30 or whatever, but when I looked back on my history and was like, what was it that I did to move to the next thing and the next thing, to make a move, to move across country, to change from being a bus driver to an international flight attendant, to become a COO, and then have a cleaning business, to like, it's like, people go, man, you're all over the place. What
Yeah.
makes you decide to do those things? Why do you change so often, or whatever?
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I was an EMT, I was a bus driver, I, I'm all over the place. How does that happen? And I had to really sit down and think through it. And after writing the book, I was like, well, I'm going to use either sock or drawer, and I'm going to put together something that makes sense. And that's
Yeah.
where that kind of like grew from that. And it had to be decide, because that's the first step.
Yeah.
Anything, well, how did you go from this to that? Well, I just decided I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I knew I could do it. I'm going to do it. And I said it, and I'm going to do this. And sometimes I said it to my spouse, who at the time was like, "You're not doing that." "Oh, yes, I am. I'm doing it." You know, and that's a whole nother podcast. But but I'm doing it. This is what I want to do. This is what's going to make me happy. I'm doing it. And so
Were
the
there,
deciding piece.
yeah, I know, I totally, like, I can see why that's the leading part to it all. Were there
Hmm.
messy moments in any of those transitions, that you mentioned? Were there messy moments throughout the drawer method? Because I can imagine, like,
Hmm.
it, I can imagine it's probably not just like a defining moment. Now I've decided, now everything's better. It probably slowly, right?
Oh,
Like
for
it's
sure.
slowly, like, isn't that the kind of the whole point of the messy middle is like, you got to kind of
Yeah.
fight your way out of it a little bit. It's not just like, hey, this is great. And I like acknowledging that on a conversation like this, because sometimes I listen to podcasts and we're like, oh, decide and let's go. And you and I both know that ain't life, right? Like
Well, not at
it
all.
continues to feel messy, I would presume, right?
It does. It does, and it should, and if it doesn't, lucky you, you know? But
Yeah.
I agree with you, John, 100%. Like, it takes time. Don't
Yeah.
expect don't expect to put all these steps in place at once. Don't expect to have a miracle happen because you've decided to. You just have to decide and know that in your heart, that's what's best for you, and
Hmm.
nobody can change that for you.
Yeah.
But it may lead to some not so great for me, one decision that I made in my career path led to a finalizing a divorce. But I was okay with that because I knew this is where I needed to be.
Yeah.
I knew that. But it took me almost a year and a half, you know, from the deciding moment
Sure.
to actually get to where I wanted to be, and
Takes
removing the
time.
obstacle, applying what I knew, and just knowing in my heart I could do it, and then wobbling forward was the key because I knew it was gonna be messy. I knew it
Right.
was gonna be a struggle, not just for me, but for kids at the time, right?
Yeah.
So, it's not it doesn't always just because you decide to your point, it
Mhm.
doesn't always mean it's gonna be pretty or make it easy,
Yeah.
but it's gonna help you stay focused.
I feel like this is the beautiful thing, though, that qualifies you to be the messiness mentor and help people that are dealing with things. Like I always think about this with myself. I'm like, what qualifies me to be,
Mm,
like how, to help somebody with their situation. And a lot of times it starts with money, but then of course life is bigger than that. And these conversations, like I always joke, I'm like, I should go back and get like some type of like
psychology degree?
degree or
Yeah,
certification
yeah.
to have to like say that I can have these conversations. But in the end, I think what qualifies me is because I lost my dad when I was 24 and I experienced the
Mm,
grieving of a father when I was young, because I was there as both a son and a financial person for my mom in that
mm,
capacity when she was living through this very big transition, because I've watched clients deal with the loss of children, siblings, deal with
mm,
divorces, deal with transition in life, like all the major transitions that you're talking about in
yeah.
that people deal with in life. I mean, whether I've personally experienced it or I've had the great um opportunity to be there alongside somebody when
Mm,
they're dealing with a difficult, I mean, that's a real honor for me to have, to be there in those really tough moments, as well as the good ones too. And I think I look at my life and I'm like, well, what qualifies me to be, this good financial steward that can help people? And you
yeah.
know what, it's not my CFP credential. It's the 18 years of conversations. It's the 18 years of living my own life. And I think you're most qualified to help the people that are in circumstances that you've experienced as well. And I think that's the amazing thing about the work that you do,
Thanks.
Lisa. Like when I think about, because there's different types of mentors and coaches out there, and the way that you so authentically share your story and things that you've experienced, like that's the beautiful part of all of that, is like that is what makes you so good at what you do, and then apply yourself in a
Thanks.
conversation like this so positively, so anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge that. And I think that's
Thank
I
you.
think that's why you're so talented at how you help people now.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, John. Thank you. I just want to help people. I just
Hmm.
want people to know I'm just like them. But I'm not trying to be something I'm not. I'm not trying to, I don't even know what. I just want to live my life and help others,
Yeah.
hopefully navigate through some stuff and enjoy the pieces of life that we can while we're going through it, because
Yeah.
we're only here for a short time. We're only offered a little bit of time here.
Yeah.
And if I've learned anything, it's to make the most of the time that we have here, with our friends, our family, our loved ones, the people around us, and even the strangers that we run into every day. We never know what somebody else is walking through. And I think it's important to offer a smile or, a touch on the shoulder.
Hmm.
Maybe you say a prayer with them. Maybe whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I just want to give back. And I don't want people to think I'm anything but just like them, the normal person, just,
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
my thing, enjoying life, and here to help.
Well, I
So
feel
I'm
like,
so grateful.
yeah, I can tell. And I feel like we made the most of today. I mean, it was such a joyful conversation,
Yeah.
and a little bit of backstory. We alluded to it before, but I was a guest on Lisa's podcast a few months ago, which was an absolute blast. It was just as much fun as this was today.
Yeah.
But Lisa, can you tell the above board listeners a little bit about your show and then maybe explain to them where they can find it? And I'll be sure to add links to the show notes as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, to all of the Above Board podcast audience, thank you, first of all, for listening in today. And this is such a great podcast. Our podcast is the Sock Drawer Podcast, and you can find it on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and just come have a good time.
Hmm.
It's people's stories. It was John's story. It's people's stories and how they've navigated through something and gotten to the other side of, and how they've succeeded and gotten to do what they're doing now, and what the kind of the wobble through that they had to do to get there. And it's fun to hear people's stories, and I think that's the purpose of it, is just to share people's stories. And you can find Sock Drawer Podcast on Instagram, TikTok. I'm all over the place, Facebook.
I think
uh,
you do a great job with it of getting like a lot of different walks of life too, just different people from different um, backgrounds, like different work experiences. Like it's just
yeah,
that we all have
thanks.
a story to share, and I think you do a great job kind of bringing that all together on your show. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
It's an
Thank
amazing
you.
podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's been a
Yeah.
privilege to be here. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining. And as we're wrapping up the show today, so obviously, number one, I want to encourage all of our listeners to go follow Lisa's podcast or grab Lisa's book, which is The Sock Drawer Philosophy, which you can find basically everywhere, including Amazon. As a gift to our audience, we're going to give away 5 copies of your book, Lisa. So
Oh,
all you have to do is text us. You got to text me at 407-904-8414 and just say something super simple like, "Hey, John, send me a copy of Lisa's book. Obviously, give me your address so I know where to send it to." And that's it. And we'll send it your way. Lisa, thank you
thank you.
again for hanging with us today and joining the show. I mean, I knew, as I said at the beginning, like this was going to be like a fun, authentic, energetic conversation. And it was all of that and more. So, Lisa, thank you for
Thank
hanging
you.
with us. And to our listeners, thank you for hanging out with Lisa and I today. If you prefer
Mhm.
to watch these episodes, head over to our YouTube channel. You can find all the conversations from the Above Board podcast there, which you can find by searching at CandorPath in YouTube, or you can just go to theaboveboardpodcast.com and find us there. Thank you again for joining, and we'll see you all next week.
See ya.